It does not happen the way you imagined it would. You probably pictured something cinematic, a moment of sudden clarity where everything lands at once and they finally understand the weight of what they walked away from. A dramatic reckoning that arrives cleanly, completely, in one devastating wave of recognition. That is not how it happens for an avoidant. Their realization does not arrive in a single moment. It builds, quietly, incrementally, in the spaces between ordinary life. It accumulates in small evidences that individually mean nothing and collectively mean everything. And by the time the full weight of it lands, they have already been carrying it for longer than they realized. The first evidence arrives when they try to replace what you gave them and discover that what you gave them was not a category of thing, it was a specific thing, yours. And specific things do not have substitutes. This is the part the avoidant did not anticipate, because when they created the distance, when they made the decision to exit, their nervous system presented the departure as logical, as self-protective, as the reasonable response to a situation that had become more intimate than they knew how to hold. And implicit in that logic was the assumption that what they were stepping away from was something they could eventually find again in a form that did not frighten them so much. Then they go looking. Not desperately, casually. They meet people. They have conversations. They allow new connections to develop at the pace their comfort requires. And nothing has that particular quality, the specific texture of who you were, the way your mind worked, the particular feeling of being around you, the thing that made being known by you different from being known by anyone else. None of it is available in approximate form. That absence is the first real evidence that what they lost was irreplaceable. The realization deepens in the moments they instinctively reach for you before remembering you are not there. Not grand moments, ordinary ones. Something happens that you would have found funny, and they form the impulse to tell you, before the awareness catches up that there is no telling you anymore. A thought surfaces that belongs in a conversation you used to have. A moment occurs that has your name on it in some wordless way, and the redirect, the moment of catching themselves, lands harder each time it happens. Because each redirect is a small confirmation of the same thing. You were woven into the ordinary fabric of how they moved through their life. Not just the relationship, their actual life, the internal one, the running commentary and the instinctive reaching, and the background awareness of another person that only exists when someone has genuinely gotten inside your world. You were inside their world, more deeply than they allowed themselves to acknowledge while you were still in it. The moment it becomes permanent arrives differently for every avoidant, but there is a specific category of evidence that lands with the most force. When you stop being reachable in the way you used to be, not just physically, energetically. There is a version of you that existed in the dynamic with them, the version that was still oriented toward them, still carrying the connection, still accessible at some level through the sheer weight of unresolved feeling. And when that version of you dissolves, when you have moved far enough into your own life that the orientation genuinely shifts, the avoidant feels it. They cannot always name what changed. They just know that something that was previously there is no longer there. The thread that persisted through silence and distance and time has gone slack. And the going slack of it produces a specific quality of loss that the earlier distance never did. Because earlier you were gone, but you were still theirs in some wordless, unspoken way, still carrying them, still affected, still reachable by the right word at the right moment. And now you are simply gone, not angry, not waiting, not holding space for a return that never came, just free and moving. That is the moment, not cinematic, not dramatic, just the quiet, devastating recognition that the window has closed, that the person who would have come back to, who would have been there through the fear if they had only been able to move through it sooner, has finally and completely chosen themselves instead. The avoidant does not always fall apart visibly when this lands, but something in them goes very, very still, in the place where the certainty of you used to live. Now just the understanding of what they had, and the silence of knowing they were the one who let it go.